Hi, Tina. Good evening. Good morning. I know
Yeah,
wherever you are. So nice to see you.
I know. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and yeah, looking forward to having a bit of a conversation today.
Yeah, so I'm going to begin with your introduction.
hmm Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Tina.
Okay.
So I'll be muting all the participants.
Yep.
So good evening, everyone. I am Bhumika Patel, founder of Guide Runners India, and our team works towards empowering visually impaired to run and stay healthy. And also provide holistic support for their well-being and all the sporting requirements. We're very honored to have with us Tina Muir. She's a British international elite runner, keynote speaker, and a host of Running for Real podcast, which has amassed 4 million downloads. Tina founded Running for Real in 2017 as a support network of community for runners to have a place to share their struggles and to empower others. And I also had the privilege of being featured in the Running for Real podcast by Tina in 2018. Also in 2017, Women's Running magazine, myself and Tina were featured amongst the elite run list of 21 women transforming the world through running. And that's how we got in connect with each other. She has written a very interesting book, Overcoming Amenorrhea. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Getting your periods back, get your life back, paperback, January 18, 2019. And a little bit about her book. Tina decided, she made the decision to step away from her career as a professional marathon runner in order to regain her menstrual cycle. And her story grabbed the attention of the world. News outlets like the ESPN, Runner's World, Glamour, Self magazine, many others have covered her over these years. And after 9 years of having spent in hiding her secret and countless hours exploring options such as blood work, medication, testing, and naturopathy, Tina made the radical decision to step away from her career to get her period back. And it's a complex topic, very often misunderstood, and very sensitive topic in athletics, often brushed away by coaches and teammates and people and hidden by those struggling to maintain a regular cycle. So it is with gentleness and honesty that Tina has led the readers through a journey to discover their own root cause for amenorrhea, covering everything from exercise and stress to the prevalence of eating disorders in sports, and removes the filter of shame and secrecy so often associated with missing a period. So very warm welcome to you, Tina, to Guide Runners India team. And we're very excited to hear from you. Can you share about yourself and your philosophy of running and your journey of running? Over to you, Tina. You're on mute, Tina.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for everyone joining today, and thank you for the kind words, Vamika. I am excited to be here and get to know some of you, and excited that you want to either begin a running journey or get further along your path with your running journey. So, well, Vamika, you shared a lot of the information that I would typically say with my journey, but one thing I guess I can give a little more details with some of the earlier things of I started running when I was 14. I didn't really enjoy it at the beginning, and that's one thing. If you are a beginner runner, it, a lot of people expect the first time they begin running to think it's just going to be really fun, and so many people do it, so it must be this amazing thing. But for a lot of us, or for most of us, I'd imagine it's quite difficult to start with. It's very uncomfortable, it's hard, it's going to challenge you. And that was the same with me, age 14. I did not enjoy it at the beginning. And I actually hid in the toilets, in the bathrooms, so that I didn't have to be on the cross country team at my school. So I didn't enjoy it at the beginning, but I soon found myself actually doing things so that I could do more of it. And I was fortunate enough to find a coach in my area who helped me to run more and to learn what I was doing. And he instilled in me a philosophy that I think is really important for new runners, and that is when we do decide to start running, when we do decide to get out there and start being a part of it more, it's very easy and tempting to want to just do more. I get people all the time say to me that they've decided to start running and they love it and they want to do everything they can do to help themselves, but then very quickly they want to do more. They want to start running every single day. They were at 20 minutes and they want to do 40 minutes. Just keep getting, it's that runner's high that you may have heard runners or heard people talking about, that we want more of. We want to just find ways to get more of it, but resist that temptation as much as you can. That coaching, that first coached me, really helped me to realize that it's all about the long term. And the more you can respect the sport, the more you can respect your body and listen and build up slowly, the more you will feel comfortable. You will allow your body time to get used to it, and you will grow from that. So I continue to improve, but I definitely kept myself back a little bit until I was a full-grown adult. And even from there, I think a lot of it has been this balancing act of doing enough, but not doing too much. And again, I would always err on the side of doing not enough. And Bhumika, I'm sure you would agree with this. It's always better to be able to continue doing it than to end up with an injury and have to step back and have to start again. And you would never be typically starting right from the beginning, but even taking that step back when you're really enjoying it is very hard to do it, because it is so enjoyable for you.
So how is it that you do this gradual increase of training? How do you manage that? What would be your advice for beginners? How much time?
Yeah. I mean, I can talk about, do you want me to say kind of a starting point first, and then go back to more of my story?
How do you gradually increase the amount of training that you do once you're a beginner?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. My first recommendation would be to find a Couch to 5K plan online. I can put a link to one. The NHS one is my favorite one because I think hundreds of thousands of runners have begun with that one, and it's pretty solid. My mother is 63 and she did that this year, started running for the first time, and so I can personally say that I know that one works. So I would be nervous to stray away from that one because I know that really does work very well. But that begins with running 3 times a week, a 5-minute walk warm up, and then doing a 1-minute run, 90 seconds walk the first week 3 times. The second week it's 1.5 minutes, 2-minute walk, and I think the third week it builds up to 3-minute run. So it just builds you up very gradually. And if everyone notices, I say minutes. I would definitely recommend going by minutes over kilometers or miles. It is very different for everyone with how far you're going to get. I mean, there is some level of talent that is going to come into this, and the same with when you're thinking about how long it's going to take you to run a 5K or a 10K or a half marathon, a marathon. It is very, very individualized. Your talent is going to come into this, and you aren't going to know what that is until a little bit further along this process. So minutes makes it the same for everyone, because minutes is going to give you that, you just run for that amount of time, and then however far you get is however far you get. It also keeps you in a healthy mindset, because I'm sure Bhumika or anyone who has run in the past will know that once you start seeing distances, that's where it gets very tempting to keep adding and adding and adding, because you want to reach the next marker. Whereas minutes, you just cut off at minutes. There's no I'll just do it till it's a round number. It's just the minute. So I would recommend,
in the lockdown, do you see that 30 minutes and 60 minutes at home or outside is a reasonable goal to have, like to stay fit?
Yeah,
For a beginner.
absolutely. I mean, yes, I would say even 10 minutes is something.
Yeah.
But yes, this is obviously a very difficult time with everything really, as we know. But particularly with training, having that limit of 30 or 60 minutes. But yes, I mean, as a beginner, I would say, yeah, even 20 minutes. That Couch to 5K program, I believe, begins at 20 minutes, and by the end of the 8-week program is at 30 minutes. So I'd say 30 minutes is more than enough time for, if you are a first time runner, to go from 0 to 30 minutes would be, in 2 months would be a huge accomplishment. So on that note, I would probably say give yourself 2 months to get to a 5K distance, 4 months for a 10K, 6 to 8 for a half marathon, and then a year to go to build up to a whole marathon. I would not go into this if you've got in your mind you want to run a marathon in the summer. I would very much advise you against that, just because there's so many things that go into this and so many factors that will be out of your control. Some people could get away with it, but again, I would err on being very gradual with your training. And once you've done that Couch to 5K, if you are a beginner, I would still either try. There's plenty of plans online, but it's just going to be about listening to your body. If you start having things that come up that are little pains, little feelings that something doesn't feel quite right, it's very easy to want to ignore that and say it will be fine. But especially at the beginning, I would always edge on doing less and being able to get to the distance that you want to. The time that you will run for any of those distances is going to vary greatly depending on how your body works and how you adapt to it, and how much sleep you get, all the other factors that are going to come into this that are out of your control, or some of them are in your control, but all the factors that go into this are going to be very different in how they affect you.
So the Couch to 5K is so that plan would have a good mix of running and strength workout, and there would be stretching days. So it's a combination of all these workouts, and not just it's not just that you are running every day, right?
No, so I think there's a lot of Couch to 5K programs, but I would suggest the UK's NHS one. So I believe it's nhs.co.uk. When you search for it, it's that one. And I can give a link, Bhumika. I can share links at the end for you to give to the community, and that will be one of them. But yes, that includes 3 days a week of running, and 3 days a week of running, and it does have plenty of other things that go with it that will tell you how to stretch, what things to do additionally. There will be a lot of other guides and information on there that goes along with that. It's not specifically on the page that has the plan, but it is around, and I do have some other recommendations myself that I would give for other days. And then from there, you can build up. Hopefully by the end of that Couch to 5K, you will be at be able to do 30 minutes continuous running, and that's the goal. And from there, it should be a little bit easier to build up, because if you can run for 30 minutes continuously, you're already doing pretty well in terms of your fitness. So that's where you can start to really increase a bit quicker.
Right. So before moving on to a 60-minute plan, we have to ensure that in our 30 minutes plan, we have made a continuous run we have achieved the goal of a continuous run with 30 minutes. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do it that way. There's nothing wrong with getting to 60 minutes of it being running and walking. However, I think most people would feel they would prefer to be able to mentally say that they can run for 30 minutes continuously than to be able to get to 60 doing running and walking. But if someone prefers to keep walking, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, and even so, throughout training, I think it is important to do maybe not walking. You still absolutely can include walking, but very, very slow jogging. Throughout training, even when I was at my very top level, I would still do intervals of harder running with walking or easier running. So I wouldn't say that walking or very slow jogging will ever really totally leave your training and leave your life. But for most people, the goal is to get to a point where they can do it continuously on a regular day without walking. So yeah.
Yeah.
Does
So
that answer your
also,
question? Yeah.
yeah, that's great advice, Tina. So also, do you have any specific guidance or recommendations for beginner women who have just taken up running?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for women is getting a sports bra that's supportive, because that is one thing that maybe doesn't get the attention it deserves, but is definitely needed and will make a big difference, especially for a woman. And that's something you won't see, obviously, recommended for men. But having that support will just make things comfortable for you. That's all I can say. And then in terms of women, specifically, again, I would say Bhumika mentioned about my speaking out about not having a menstrual cycle, not having a period for 9 years, and that is going to be a part of your life every month for most women. And if it is not, then that's definitely something I personally would recommend getting checked out. If you are restricting your calories in any way, or you know that you're not eating enough, I would definitely consider getting that checked out, because you are going to be putting yourself at risk of bone injuries and of long-term health effects like I was. So I would recommend getting that checked out. But that said, if you are having a healthy cycle, that's normal, that's good, that's going to be a part of your life, and it's going to fall over this time where you are running. So it is definitely something to keep in mind. It is going to affect you in some ways, in that it obviously adds that inconvenience factor. However, it is perfectly safe for you to run. And actually, the evidence has found that women, when it comes to competing or at a race or some kind of competition, women are actually very strong on the days that they are on their period. It brings out kind of almost a animal instinct of wanting to be a fighter, so within us. So I think that's something that women are often scared of their cycles for running, that it's going to affect them, or that they don't feel very well, they're uncomfortable, they have some of the side effects, the symptoms. But actually, a lot of women find if they get out there and do it, they feel a lot better afterwards. It is one great way to deal with the symptoms. So don't be afraid of your menstrual cycle. I mean, obviously, you have to have some thing that you're going to use to help you during that time. I actually have, I'm not sure if these are available in India, but I use a menstrual cup and
Yeah, they are
during my
available
run.
in India.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So so I would recommend one of those, because then that's in, you don't have to think about it, and then it's just, I find them comfortable and they are reusable. I'm very passionate about environmental factors, and so that's something I would definitely recommend.
So do you also use the menstrual cup for your competitive races, or only in the training?
Well, I actually can't answer that, because of I got my period back and then I had 2 children and then it's the pandemic, so I haven't raced. So I can't answer that yet. But when races are back on, yes, I will absolutely be using a cup when I race, because I've got quite comfortable with it. It has taken a few tries, a few months to get used to it. But now I will definitely be using that for future. So
So what would be your recommendation in selecting the cup? Because I think many have faced the problem of whether the cup fits you the right way and how trying
Yes.
the correct one.
Yeah. And it is very, it does require some information, but there is I can give a link again, but there is a website that's called, I believe it's called Put a Cup in It.
Yeah,
And that has very good information on, or that has you do a quiz, a questionnaire, and you fill that out based on, you know, whether you've had children, just some information it will ask about you and your specific body. And from there, I mean, this is here in the US, and I know in the UK, but I would imagine most of them ship worldwide if they are doing both the US and the UK, but it will give you specific recommendations as to which one. And then maybe from there, even if they don't have the one that it recommends for you, you can look at the shape of it, because they are all slightly different. And you can go onto a website or a place that does ship to India and then order that one. So it really depends. I mean, I think there's 10 at least, if not 20 plus companies that make these. So I would hesitate to recommend which one I use, because I don't know if that is the best one. That's the one that the quiz recommended for me. So I would do your research, and if you I would say to give it at least 3 months worth of tries. I had the first one I did not like, and so I gave it a few months. I still didn't like it, and then I ordered another one, and there's a different company, and there was still a bit of a learning curve, but once I gave myself maybe 2 periods to figure it out, it is just totally comfortable. And there's been stories of women forgetting that they're in there for 3 weeks. So
yeah.
I would say that if you are, once you get it figured out, it will be worth it, even if it takes a bit of learning in the beginning. Do you want me to go on with some other factors for beginner women?
Yeah, about the stretching and the warm-ups, how important
Well,
it is, and
well, I was just going to say a few more
especially
on
for
just
beginners.
specific, like, yes.
Yeah,
So
you could.
just a few more.
Yes, Tina.
Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned earlier, but I would say try not to, at least for the first few months, to run every day. Have at least one rest day, even if something comes up and you miss. I mean, these next few tips apply to men and women, but even if you miss a day, or you have something going on that means that you've had to skip some things, do not try and make things up and run multiple days in a row trying to catch up, because that is only setting you up for problems. That's where your body is going to be overloaded. So I would go every other day, or at least one rest day in between runs for the beginning months. And I haven't really mentioned running shoes yet. You definitely want to be able to get yourself a pair of running shoes that are going to support you and help you. Some people do like to run with smaller, like, well, they say stack heights over here, but just like a thinner shoe. Some people do like to run barefoot. Some people like to run with the thicker shoes, but the only way to really know is to try it on and see what works for you. So I'm not sure how that works for you, but getting a good pair of running shoes is also a must. Yeah, so that was one more. And then finally, for everyone, but particularly for women, make sure you are eating immediately post run. Not, you slow to a walk and you eat, but within 20 minutes, you want to be making sure you are eating that, particularly for women with a menstrual cycle demand and the way that our bodies work. We need to make sure that we are eating something, at least a few hundred calories within 20 minutes. And sometimes people feel uncomfortable and don't feel like eating. If that is the case, just try to get something down. If it's, a small section of a chapati, like something plain that is not going to upset your stomach, have it be that. But yeah, make sure you are getting something in. If it's a banana, that's great, because that's just going to help your body start the recovery process. And then ideally get a full meal within 2 hours.
Yeah, so Kirtana was saying something thing about the menstrual cup which she
Yeah.
uses. Kirtana, do you want to
Oh,
unmute?
Rustic Art and Pea Safe, unknown
Yeah, I
brand.
used Rustic Art, and I mean, P Safe and
Okay.
Rustic Art are two brands that are known in India. So for me,
Yes.
even though it had a couple of instructions, I got a medium size based on how I had my childbirth, but then it
Yeah.
didn't fit properly. So I had to go back and order for a small one. So a little bit
Yeah.
of trial and error has to be worked with the menstrual cup.
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly how I feel. And the same thing. I had the one that it suggested with childbirth and it was too big. So yes, you definitely will have to find one that works for you. And I'm sure with you, Kithana, as well, it will ask you to do some internal tests and checks. I would suggest doing those. It's tempting to just be like, yeah, I'll leave that. I don't want to do that. But I would definitely recommend doing that. And yeah, as Kitana said, make sure you give it some time and yeah, test it out.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel comfortable, take it out and try again, even if that means a few tries, because I'm sure you agree that once you get it right, you don't even notice it's there, and you could wear it the whole day and you wouldn't even notice. So
Yeah, I
it's
completely agree. Yeah.
yes, thank you, that's a good point.
So what
um,
would be your recommendations on the exercises one should do to avoid injury
um
or injury
yeah,
prevention?
so exercises, that's where I would again check online. I have got some links and I can put them in the chat if you want right now, for places I would go to do injury prevention. But that's primarily going to come, which I know we're going to talk about soon, through warm-ups and just doing exercises pre and post run, and then just on the days you're not running. But a few factors I want to mention before that are key. Number one is get enough sleep. There's a lot of studies and research that goes on to um, help people recover faster. What is the most effective method? But the number one thing you can do is get enough sleep. All this research always comes back finding that sleep is the key here. So make sure you are getting that 8 hours or at least 7 a night. And if you really want to take care of your body, that's the number one thing you can do, is getting that sleep. And again, I mentioned earlier, eating well, particularly post run. You want to make sure you're doing that. And we'll go on to talk about food factors more, what to eat, a little bit later, I know, but just I want to mention, for if you want to avoid injury, eating well is another one you want to take care of. That's going to give your body the opportunity to repair and recover from those runs. So that's key. And then for exercises for avoiding injury, if you have access to a gym or access to ways of doing strength training, that is going to be key. And it doesn't have to be about a gym if you do not have access to a gym. It can, I mean, I've done strength training over here. We have our laundry or washing detergent. I've carried that in my arm, above my head, done exercises with the big jug, or it could be water, carrying buckets in both arms. I've done exercises like that. So there are things you can use that you can find. I mean, I'm sure, I believe, Vamika, that you can get, I mean, I buy big bags of bulk rice, which are, this big, and I imagine you can get things like that in India, right? Where
Yeah, we
they're just,
have been doing online workouts on the Zoom and other apps. So
yeah,
basically, when we do the strength training at home, we use water bottles,
yeah,
and sometimes we use so we do body weight exercises. And yeah, so there people also, like I was pointing out to you, that for the rolling they used the chapati
yeah,
roller which they use in the
yeah,
kitchen.
yeah,
So we've been
yes, for
trying to
sure.
use the home whatever was available at home for the exercises.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's plenty of options you can do, and from home if you are not able to get to a gym, and that's fine. I'm not going to a gym right now either, so I'm having to be creative as well. But finding that there are plenty of ways that you can find, and you've obviously been leading some classes of how to do these things from home.
So
And
Tina, at this point,
yeah.
I just wanted to add to the previous recommendation that you gave, that if we want to stay fit, the 30 minutes time goal, time-based program, which helps you run continuously at the end of the program. So that if that is that kind of a goal, if you have, or even if it's 60 minutes, which is just a time-based goal that somebody has, would you say that this type of a strength workout using like a detergent packet or a water bottle, should they combine a running day and a strength workout on the same day, one after the other, or they have to space out on a different day? And or how do they decide if so although we are giving the guidance, but sometimes they may want to do it by themselves, so what should they keep in mind?
Yeah, when it comes to when to do the strength training, unfortunately, I believe that's personal practice. Most people, most coaches recommend doing strength training on the same day as your runs, or the same day, particularly when you start doing harder days where one of the days is going to challenge you to really push yourself. It tells you to do that the same day so that you have hard days and then totally easy days or total rest days for your body to recover. That said, I personally did not like doing it that way. I preferred to do my harder days or my run days, and then have the strength training be my rest or easy days. Like even now, I strength train on the days I do not run, and part of that is for me, I have 2 children, and I can't afford time-wise to have that amount, both of those things on one day. But also part of that is I just didn't like the feeling of doing both of them on the same day. So I like doing it a different day. But that said, I think most would recommend doing it on the same day so that you can have total rest days. At the beginning, I wouldn't say it makes such a big difference. But my suggestion would be to do it on your rest days, so that because you shouldn't be doing anything too strenuous, particularly if you're doing body weight exercises. So you should still be able to rest and recover during that time. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
So now so would you say the coach's recommendation would work for professional athletes who are training for competitive races?
With the strength training?
Yeah, with
Like
the
when
strength training. Yeah, when somebody is training for 100 meters or a 200 meters, so, or a
for
5K fast, yeah, competitive race.
okay. I think if you were training for shorter distances and trying to be competitive, you would want to be doing maybe not so much body weight exercises, but heavier exercises, finding ways to do things with heavier weights, in which case you might be sore. So I would probably suggest to do it on the same day as the hard days, because both the hard running and the strength training is going to make you sore. So then that will give your body total rest days to recover. So yeah, if someone's training for a competition, as I said earlier, I personally didn't like doing it that way, even when I was training competitively.
Yeah.
But yeah, for most people, I would probably recommend if they were training hard to do it on the same day.
So Tina, you mentioned that diet is important apart from sleep. So any particular recommendations in terms of what should be the focus for beginners?
Mm-hmm. Well, do you want to answer the question from Pooja? She said, do you recommend recovery run or walk or strength training after? Yes, I'm sorry, I did not mention that earlier. I would recommend doing, maybe a 5-minute walk back, or I mean, it really is up to you how long, but at the beginning, I would definitely say to do a 5-minute, at least a 5-minute walk to bring your body back down. That said, for if you are a beginner runner, you're not going to be running so hard that you are struggling to, your body is that uncomfortable. So I wouldn't say it's critical, but I would definitely recommend doing it. The strength training, yeah, a lot of people do like to, if you are going to do it on the same day as your runs, as we just talked about, a lot of people would prefer to do it the day of immediately after, because then your body is already warmed up, your muscles are ready, and then you can get the full effectiveness of it. So yeah, if you are going to do it the day of, I would probably do it immediately after. If you are going to do it on different days, as I mentioned there, then maybe you could do it the next day. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Tina. So this was like, after doing the long run, I was, means I forgot to write as in long run. So if I have done like, say, 15, 20 kilometer today, so maybe, the next day, a 5-kilometer recovery run or a walk, you would suggest, or it should be a complete rest day?
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're
That
up to
way.
running 15 to 20 Ks, I would probably say you could do a short, easy run. So if you're up to 15 to 20 K, you could probably do 5 to 10K the next day, just very slowly. I don't know if you have a GPS watch, but if you do, I would stay away from it. The days after running hard or running long, either of those, definitely keep it very slow, very easy. So if you were going to go by minutes, I would probably say 20 to 40 minutes very slowly, and so slowly that you could have a full conversation with a friend, talking just as you and I are right now. So does that help?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tina. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to go on to diet, Bhumika?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So recommendations on diet, the minimum that beginners should focus on, I would probably say some of the key things are quite often people, when they decide they want to be running or want to take their running more seriously, they will think, I need to eat really healthy, I need to eat lots of fruits and vegetables, I need to look after my body, and that is true. However, stay away from those foods before your run. Other than bananas, which are very easy to digest, I wouldn't really go for many of the other fruits and vegetables. I mean, maybe like dates, things that are typically, things that people have eaten in the past for energy. But I would keep away from all foods that have high fiber. Anything that is fibrous or just difficult for your body to digest. I mean, I know here in the US people love apples, and apples are one of the worst things you could eat before a run, because they're just going to really upset your stomach. So keep away from healthier foods, most fruits and vegetables in the few hours before your run, and the same with high fiber foods, things like beans and lentils. Those are high fiber and may upset your stomach. Then you may be able to eat those, but you want to test them out. So at the beginning, I would very much stick with safe foods, plain foods. So chapatis, parathas, naan, rice, simple things, bread. The things that are either white or very pale in color, very simple, I would stick with eating a lot of those. Limiting the spicy foods before runs, that's again bathroom issues or needing to go to the toilet during a run is one of the worst parts about running. So the safer you can be, the better, and then you can over time begin to test things out and see what does work for you, see what is comfortable for you. So pre-run, I just keep it very simple, and until you know how strong your stomach is. I mean, some people may be able to eat a very, very spicy curry and then go immediately on a run, but you want to test out your body bit at a time and see how it goes. Also, potatoes are a good thing. I didn't mention that earlier. That's something I have, sweet potatoes or regular potatoes. Those are usually pretty safe foods, and actually sweet potato with almond butter was actually what I would eat in the 3 hours before my run. So yeah, I recommend starting with eating a meal or some larger amount of food around 3 hours before a run to start with. If you are running in the morning first thing, then you can eat immediately before, but again, I would very much stick to the plain bread-like foods to keep your stomach comfortable. And then post-run, you want to make sure afterwards you are getting protein in to help with recovery, as well as carbs. So more of those starchy foods, as well as fish, chicken, lamb, any other high protein things you have. So lentils, pulses, legumes, things like that are going to be helpful. So, and again, make sure that you are getting definitely a full meal within 2 hours, but something within 20 minutes.
Yeah, so about protein, is there, do you follow this thing about having something protein shake immediately after your workout within 30 minutes or up to 1 hour? Do you follow that? And have you found it effective in your recovery? And what do you have?
I'm not actually a fan of protein shakes, to be honest. I have used them. They have their time and place, but I personally would rather just eat foods, eat other things that are helpful for my body that are real foods. However, if it's a case of a protein shake or nothing, go for the protein shake. But I think I would rather get real foods. So having potatoes with some nut butter or some butter. I would prefer to have some. I'm actually a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat, but I would prefer to eat some chickpeas or some. If it was in the morning, I would prefer to have some cereal or toast with nut butter. So I think for me, I prefer to eat actual food rather than a shake. But if a shake works for you, then that's absolutely fine. So
yeah, that's a good point you made, where if it's not accessible and you don't have any so if it's not easily available, the food to eat, maybe you've got driven somewhere far off for a long run, so it might take longer for you to return, then the protein shake powder would be easy for you to consume.
Yeah, if it's an easy thing for you to grab, and especially if it's a longer run that you're feeling exhausted, you don't want to take the time to make something, or you can't get something, maybe you're traveling back from somewhere, that is an easy thing you can have. I actually prefer to use like bars, I make my own like bites with chia seeds and hemp seeds and pumpkin seeds and peanut butter and oats. So I prefer to make my own kind of recovery things than shakes. But if that
Do you
works
also
for you,
make
then
the gels, homemade gels?
I don't make gels. I have a product over here that I use called Generation You Can. I take and use. I'm not sure if that's available. So I don't make gels, but it's not.
That's not available, but we do have other gels which are available.
Yeah. But there's plenty of, I was going to say, there's plenty of options available. Or as I said earlier, dates are a very good one to be able to use, or even just, some people do use sweets of some kind, but I know that dates are one that people have relied on in the past to keep them going. So yeah.
So somebody's asking, can I know the ingredients to make a protein shake?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not really a protein shake person, so I can't give you that much help. If I was to do it, I would probably just do 2 scoops of the powder. The company here is Generation UCAN, but there will be some kind of protein powder company there. If you wanted to do more of a smoothie, that's another good option. That you could mix some protein powder, some kind of milk or liquid of some kind, coconut water, milk. You know, I would use probably oat milk. We have that over here. You could put spinach in there if you have a blender. You could put peanut butter in there if you have that. You can put fruits in there. You can put seeds in there. So there's a lot of things that I would make for a smoothie, and I quite often do that when it's warm. Here it is definitely not, so it's hard to think about that right now. But yeah, there's plenty of things you could put in to keep it interesting. But the protein shake specifically, yeah, I think usually it's just a few scoops of the powder with either water, coconut water, or some kind of, I again tend to put it with oat milk. So yeah, does that answer the question?
Yes, Tina.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what would be your recommendation for the visually impaired athletes who have joined here, if they have to stay fit and if they might not always be able to find a guide to run with? So what would be your recommendation on the exercises for them?
Well, firstly, I'd say that's tough. We have all had a really hard year, and to give yourself some kindness that you are committed to this and you want to do this training, and you know you are not able to. So firstly, I just want to say to anyone who isn't able to get out there, like, remember to treat yourself kindly. This is such a strange situation for everyone, and it is particularly hard having needing to have a guide, but knowing that that's not always going to be available. So I'd say just, you know, treat yourself well, be nice to yourself. But that said, some other options, I'd say if available, swimming and cycling is going to be the closest thing you can get. However, you could do stairs. If you have stairs in your home, you could do skipping, either on the spot, if you have a skipping rope, or just you know, around somewhere you know is safe to go. You could also run on the spot. Maybe a little bit boring, but it will work if you need to. And there are plenty of workout videos online. I mean, Bhumika said that she's been doing some workout videos with strength training and other exercises, but there are plenty of ways online, especially this year, that have come out to be able to do something. So I would say to do some kind of class. Yes, it might not correlate directly with running, but it's going to be close enough, and it's going to be something that works your heart and keeps your body moving, and that is the key here in those tough moments. So
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So also before getting into fitness, like if somebody's taken a big break from running and they want to get back into fitness activity, how would they decide on how, you know, the fitness level? How would you decide that? And yeah, if they should run or they should train for some particular sport.
Yeah, if you've taken a break and it's been a while since you have run, I would take your time. You do not have to go back to the very beginning as if you were starting running from scratch, but I would start with some walking in your training. Maybe not even so much for your heart and lungs if you've been doing something else, but for your legs and just the impact of running that will just from the landing on the ground that will have on your body and make it a little bit sore. So I would start with some walking in there. A lot of that is going to be on what feels right for you. If you are someone who was running every day for 10, 15K a day and you took a week off, you're not going to need much walking time. But if it's someone who was just building up and then has to stop, that would probably mean more walking time. So it's going to be a lot based on you, but I would start with maybe a few minutes of running with 1 minute of walking, and see if you're okay with that. Only you will know if that's too much or if that's too easy. Again, I would always try to stay on the side of being safe over trying to do too much and ending up with an injury. Because, particularly if that time off has come because of an injury, you will want to be really careful and go slower and go take more walks, because the time when you return from injury is when you're at most risk of getting another one, and you'll know how horrible it feels to be injured and to be in pain moving around. So you want to avoid that. So if you have taken some time off, there again, online there are plenty of return to running plans depending on where you're at, but I would definitely start with some version of that couch to 5k plan of just a few minutes of running, a few minutes of walking to start with, until you know that you are healthy and feeling good. So,
yeah, people, I've seen people getting demotivated because they've lost the timings that they used to do the runs before. So
yeah, it can make a big difference. And
yeah,
if it is a motivation thing, again, I go back to this a lot, but don't be hard on yourself if you did lose motivation and you were really into running and then you just couldn't keep up with it and you felt unmotivated. We've all gone through that in the last year. I've run a lot less in the last year than I ever have in my life. So we all feel that way, but the more you treat yourself with kindness and say, it's okay, this is a tough time, this is unprecedented, particularly if you are a VI and you haven't had a guide. I mean, of course, that's going to be another factor and make it very easy to not do anything. So just remember to treat yourself with love and respect, because at the end of the day, you're getting out there, you're doing something. And even if that's not as much as you'd like, you're still doing it. So be proud of yourself for that.
So Tina, I would also like you to give any recommendations that you have in specific for guides who, while training with the visually impaired, what should they be keeping in mind, and also given that these visually impaired are mainly from the underprivileged background, the running community of visually impaired in India. So what would be your specific recommendations in case there are guides who take up this guide running from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I did guide running before the pandemic, it was a real learning experience at the beginning. If you are thinking of becoming a guide for the first time, you need to be able to keep in mind that you have to be able to put them what their needs are first. So that means having a conversation with them before they begin. What is something that helps them? What are things that they need you to do? So I would recommend having a conversation with them as to what do they like you grabbing their arm and helping them move around potholes or things that might be on the ground. Do they want you to say up ahead, there's a rock? Do they want you to talk to them constantly? Do they mostly like to run in silence other than the directions or things that they might need? It really is the best thing to start by asking them what they like, what they appreciate, asking them what's helpful, just so you have a starting point to make sure that you know what works best for them. And most people, from my experience, have been very understanding and just grateful, feeling so fortunate that you are wanting to help them and you are prepared to do that. But you want to make sure you're good with their comfort level. And then in terms of just training with them, you, as much as possible, want to make sure that you are checking in with them as they need you to see how they're feeling. You want to make sure that you're running again, this is where they're going to be comfortable, but you're running either level with them or just in front of them, and you're not running too fast for them. Pay attention yourself to how they're breathing. It could be easy to, if you feel good, to run a little bit too fast and they'll stay close to you, but then you're messing up their training. So be aware of that as a factor, that you want to remember that you're running for them, not for yourself. Well, you are. I mean, it's obviously going to give you some things yourself, but you're doing this to help them. So keep in mind what they need and they want. And yeah, if they're from less privileged backgrounds, then it's probably going to be something that they may have some things that you don't. They may not be able to work with. Some of the suggestions that you have may not be applicable to them or may not be possible for them. So keep that in mind. Try and keep an open conversation to see what they do have and what is available. If you suggest going to a swimming pool and they have no access to a swimming pool, then that is something that you need to keep in mind. But I would imagine, again, that conversation at the beginning is going to really help to set the boundaries and to figure out what works for them. And for me, I found it helpful to understand what I needed to look out for. If you are an able-bodied person who does not have a visual impairment, you're not going to, a lot of the time, think about what to look out for on the ground, because your eyes have become so used to scanning the ground for those things and not even being conscious of them. But it may take some time. It requires quite a lot of concentration at the beginning to look out for things and to just be aware of what's going on. The stimulation that your eyes are going to be getting is maybe more than you would typically have in a run. So be aware of that yourself too, that this is going to maybe require a lot more concentration than it usually would. So does that help, Bhumika?
Yeah, those were great tips, Tina. So also, lastly, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the interesting projects that you are coming up with now? What's new?
Yeah, thank you. I am working, so you mentioned at the beginning I have a podcast. I'm actually working on a second podcast,
Wow.
which is addressing, it's more of a produced podcast, more of almost a TV show style podcast, of where we will have stories and interviews and conversations afterwards about what can be done, about various things that are happening in the running world. And so I am working hard on that. There's a lot of time going into it, but I think it's going to be worth it, with my co-host Knox Robinson. And so I'm working on that. I am still continuing to grow the community, grow the regular podcast and the things that I'm doing. And then I'm hoping I can have write a book on sustainability, so the environmental crisis related to runners. So how runners can help, how runners can be more sustainable and environmentally friendly themselves. So hoping that's another thing I'll be working on, but yeah, we'll see.
Wow, that's great. So the forum is open for questions. You can unmute yourself. Ketki is here from Mumbai. Ketki is a visually impaired athlete. Then we have Shebaz from Mumbai. Would you like to unmute and ask a question? Who raised the hand? Kirtana?
Yeah, I have two questions. One question is on drinking water or drinking some form of fluid when running. Like when I go for runs, I've seen I have seen runners who do 6 kilometers or 5 kilometers and don't take a bottle with them for running. Whereas I've also seen people who say that, every 30 minutes you should keep drinking some form of fluid that you're carrying with you. So what is advised for, what is the best practice for that, is one question. And second question is, like, I came across a couple of articles which say that running backwards, like if you do that, then it helps in strengthening your muscles and knees, and it also helps in recovery. So, like, is it really true that running backward helps in recovery and strengthening your muscles and knees, or is it just like people have started doing that?
Well, I'm going to answer the first one second, the second one first, if that's okay. The backwards running, I can't say I've heard of people. I mean, I don't, as I know of that, I don't know that being like a craze or a thing people are doing. That said, I am thinking it's probably some kind of drill. There are warm-up drills, and I have got some links. I will actually post one just before we finish here of some warm-up and exercise routines and stretches that I would recommend for runners. But or at least these two websites will be helpful for researching. They've got really good content on there. So if you do have any more questions beyond this, go on there, but I'll put those in a minute. But I'm guessing that those are the backwards running is some form of drills. People do these movements, these techniques, these short bursts of exercises that are going to help your body with your running technique, help the muscles be strengthened. So I'm assuming it's something like that, which would mean it is probably only 20 meters worth of backwards running, not going for an entire run backwards. I have not heard of that. So yes, I would say backwards running in terms of a set as one of many drills that you could do for strengthening your body. Yes, I would say that's probably a good idea if you did that as one of maybe 6 to 8 other exercises. That would be only helpful. And then with the water thing, I mean, temperature is going to come into this a lot in the heat of summer. Yes, maybe do take water with you on every run and make sure you're staying hydrated. In the winter or when it's below, I mean, anything below about 15 degrees Celsius, I would probably not bother with water unless you're running more than 45 minutes to an hour. I personally don't take water with me for anything under an hour. But if you feel comfortable, if you feel like you prefer to, then that's fine. But I do not think it is needed unless, if it's over 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, I would maybe start thinking about taking water for shorter runs. But otherwise, I think you could get away with, the key is to just drink throughout the rest of your day regularly so that you are hydrated when you go into your runs, rather than getting onto a run and then just gulping down a whole bottle of water because you're thirsty. So you want to make sure that you are just drinking little and often throughout your day, and then in that way you wouldn't have to take water with you. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else?
Can I go next? Pooja here. Hi, Tina. So I just posted the question. This is, for people who do not want to participate in marathon and all, but running is also been a very good kind of in sport, which helps or benefits in your health, right? And to be fit. So I just wanted to understand that we need to keep the distance in mind, or the timing, or the pace, or how exactly you want to suggest the running benefits somebody who's not going to participate in any event or something.
Yeah, well, and I want to say that I fall into that category right now. I am not training for anything, so I definitely understand you. So I still prefer to go by minutes, even when I'm not training for something, just because I find for me that is a way of letting go of speed. When people focus on a distance, it is very tempting to look at how fast you're running and to just get caught up in that. To say, wow, last week I ran this many miles in this much time, or I ran, and then the next run to say, oh, I'd better run faster than that, or I'm gonna try and beat that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's very it's a slippery slope. It's very easy to get caught up in each time wanting to be faster and faster. So that's why I recommend minutes, because it's just, and yeah, you know, you could get caught up in that with minutes as well. But I find with me, for minutes, I don't have that need, because I just know how many minutes I'm running for, and whatever the distance ends up being, the distance ends up being. That said, if you do want to do distance, there is nothing wrong with that, and it does in some ways allow for you to have a bit more flexibility. If you're not training for something and you just enjoy to run 3 times a week for 5k, that's fine, go do that. Or if you prefer to do 3 times a week and you do an all-out run one day, and you do a you know, some faster and slower running another day for minutes, for distances, that's fine too. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I would actually say if you were not training for anything, that would be even more reason to do by minutes. But if you were training for something, eventually you would probably want to get on to training by distance rather than minutes, because that way you're going to be able to get more specific. Does that answer your question, or did you mean more specific
No,
running?
sure. That's fine, Tina. That answers.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
I have a question, Bhumika.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Tina.
Hi.
This is Sandhya here.
Hi.
And I come across articles these days which says walking is better for fat loss and weight loss. And people who run, they end up eating more and gain calories. So what is your take on this?
I would believe that people do end up eating more, but it's difficult. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really. If you run 3 miles and you walk 3 miles, you're going to burn the same amount of calories. You're just going to get there quicker with running. So with running, maybe it takes you 30-40 minutes, but with a walk, if you're going to walk 3 miles, it's going to take you an hour and a half. So calories wise, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, but just, yeah, if you were going to walk for 45 minutes, you're not going to burn as many calories because you're not going to get as far. But if you do it by distance, it's going to be pretty similar. That said, I really try and stay away from weight loss conversations, because I have found that most people who struggle with weight, it's actually often a case of not eating enough. So your body is in this state of thinking that it's going to go into starvation. So in my experience, I have 2 podcast episodes I'd be happy to share with you, but most people who are trying to lose weight and struggle with that, it's because they are either not eating enough throughout the day, and then getting to the evening and then eating too much because they haven't eaten enough throughout the day, or just not eating enough as a whole in their whole life. And so it's tempted, and so your body is then thinking that it's starving, and so it's holding on to everything. So in my experience, as much as people don't want to hear this, actually eating a little bit more, and especially eating more of good healthy foods, is actually going to help with weight loss, because your body will be able to and relax, and it will find where it is most comfortable. But it is that state of restriction where most people get themselves in trouble. I'm not able to explain that maybe as well as the dietitians that I have had on my podcast, but they will explain that better. And I will make sure I put links to that in the chat, or in the wherever you are going to have access to this. But I know that that's like not what people want to hear when they ask me that question, but it really is a case of if you can eat more throughout the day, particularly in the morning, early in your day, that is only going to help you for the most part with weight loss, because it's going to mean that your body is well fueled, your metabolism is working correctly, so everything's going to be working well, and so it's not going to have that clinging on, and it's not going to have, you're not going to have that temptation to binge. For example, I just want to give an example here. When I was not eating enough, I would get to the evening and all I wanted was sweets, sugar. Like, I didn't care what it was. I just felt like I needed sugar, and I did. But that was my body saying, you haven't given me enough throughout the day, rather than it. Yes, I do have a sweet tooth, but this was like, I needed it and I had no willpower to control it. So a lot of the time these can be solved by just eating more earlier in the day. Yeah, so I can definitely share those links, so I will make sure I add those in there.
Thank you. I have another question.
Yeah.
If I'm comfortable with 5K and from moving from 5K to 10K, should I first try to improve my speed on 5K and then move on to 10? Or as in the easy phase itself, I can move on to 10?
That's going to be partly personal preference. I think I would say that I would prefer to get to the 10K first, because I genuinely believe that speed doesn't matter. I often get people telling me how slow they are, but I really don't believe that. I don't feel like in running we should be judging our pace. I think the fact that we're out there is something. We're all runners. Everyone is a runner if you get out and do it, even if you are only running a minute at a time. So I personally would say it would be more satisfying to say I ran a 10K than to just say I ran a 5K this fast. So I would, if I was you, or if this was my decision, I would choose to build up to the 10K and then know that the speed will come. So if you are able to run 10K, the chances are you're going to be faster at running the 5K because you are fitter. So I would personally choose that. But if you feel, 5K is the thing that you're excited about, and you want to see what you can do, and you want to see how fast you can go, by all means, go for that. Sorry, that wasn't really an answer to your question, but yeah, just my personal recommendation.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, well, if there's anyone else, I'm just going to get
Hi Tina, Rupa here.
Hi.
Hi. Actually, I wanted a basic work one question, like how to improve your stamina for running for beginner. How to go with that? I mean, they start with the walking, and then how to go with that when so that people can go with very smoothly without any injury and all.
So can you just give me a bit of background of how much running you have been doing?
I have done 9 kilometers, not 10 yet. Yeah.
Okay, so you are running and running about 3 times a week. How often are you doing?
Two times. 2 times.
2 times a week. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to know, building up for kind of what the next step for you would be.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say that. I mean, that's great. Well done for getting to that point. I mean, 9K is that's quite a long way. So be very proud of yourself for that. The next step, I would probably try to add a day or even 2 to get to the point of where you are running every other day, if possible, and maybe not doing the 9 to 10K every day, but have that be, you could have one run on the weekend or whatever day works best for you, where that is your 9 to 10K day, and then you try and add more. So maybe that one time a week you start with your 9K, and then the next, so let's say you did that on a Sunday, the following Sunday you would try and do 10K, the following Sunday you would try and do 11K, the following Sunday you would try and do 12K. So you would add a K each week, and then on the other days, so the other 1 to 3 runs in a week, you would do maybe 4 to 7K. So something a bit shorter, but you are just adding more volume to your training. So I would probably keep adding to that that longer day, and then have the other days be a little bit shorter, but try and add more of them. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's probably what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Any
So,
other questions?
Tina, we have with us Dr. Ishwar Kapoor. He's a sports medicine doctor, and he works
Oh, cool.
with the elite athletes in the US. He's based out of San Diego. Doctor, would you like to unmute yourself and say something? He works very
Hello
close.
there, Tina.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for joining and giving us the tips that you gave us. Really helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
What time is it there, doctor?
Oh, it's 4:45 in the morning.
Oh, you're even earlier than me.
Yeah, I
Wow.
sure am.
Thank you for getting up that early.
Yes, of course.
That must have been an early start. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for working.
Early starter, late end. Yep.
Wow.
So the exercise screening that you saw, the videos that we had sent you initially, so we had created those with the help of the doctor.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, really amazing program you've got here, and just very excited and yeah, proud to be a part of this, because it's really I mean, I can only imagine how grateful everyone is watching and listening to this, just how special that is to have something to help them to start to train and start to run to a group that possibly never thought they would be able to. So
yeah, so we had a very good interaction with the UK guide runners, and we're going to have a meeting soon with them. So would you like to also join there in the meeting? I mean, in case you have time, and if you were.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to look at timing, just because my husband is about to start his busy season at work, and just having the two girls, I'll have to see when we're talking about here. But if I could, I would love to. I just have to look at timing, whether it would work with his schedule and my work that I have to get done as well.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see if I can make it work.
Yeah, so we were with the exercise screening that we introduced for guide runners. We've had the section where both the audio and the video could be used for doing a fitness screening virtually. So which is something which many were unaware of, and they're quite not confident about how to do it. So that so we've got a nice checklist, and it's also coded onto the guide website, so that people can easily implement it. So thank you for all the feedback that you have given and your recommendations. We would definitely incorporate all those. And any other questions for Tina before we sign out? Khushbu, would you like to ask something?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of the questions that I had on my mind about the distance and timing, Tina answered those. And pleasure to hear you, Tina, and the recommendations that you've given. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
So, all right. So if you do not have any further questions, I would like to thank Tina for her time. And I know such a busy schedule, and you've taken time out for our team, and we're very grateful for that. And thank you, Tina.
No, thank you. Thank you to everyone, and best
Thanks
of luck.
everyone who joined.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bhumika and Tina.
Thank you
Tina,
so much.
thanks.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Bhumika, for this session.
Thanks, Bhumika.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.